From the nation's capital, Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. A weekly discussion about the federal issues most important to Nevada. And now, from Washington, D.C., here's Marilee Joyce.
Well, good day to you. I'm Marilee Joyce, and this is Eye on Washington, the only statewide Nevada news program produced in Washington, D.C. Every week, Eye on Washington takes you straight to Capitol Hill for a discussion with Nevada's delegation and other leaders about the federal matters that matter to you. Today's topic: in this post-Osama bin Laden world, how safe is Nevada? We'll find out what's being done on the Hill and in the state to help protect you against potential terrorist threats. And my guest today to talk about this important subject, Nevada U.S. Congresswoman Shelley Berkley. And thanks for being here again.
Marilee, thank you for having me.
Thank you. While Nevadans join all Americans celebrating the news of Osama bin Laden's demise, we are reminding that the need to be careful and watchful has not necessarily diminished as the fight against terrorism continues. And today on Eye on Washington, we'll ask my guest's thoughts on Nevada's preparedness. We'll find out what security-related efforts she's pushing in Congress, and we'll tell you about a program at UNLV that's dedicated to keeping Nevada safe and secure. In early May, just 2 days after Osama bin Laden's killing, our Congresswoman Berkley was called to a members-only briefing on the operation. Now, no doubt it was an important meeting to all the invited members, but for the representative of an area that in the past has been considered high risk by Homeland Security officials assessing which places are most attractive to terrorists, the May meeting certainly mattered that much more. You might recall that in the wake of 9/11, the Strip and Hoover Dam were among national areas cited by the department as being at higher risk for an attack. And back in 2003, a story in the Washington Post read in part, quote, "The Al-Qaeda network has long considered Las Vegas to be one of its top terrorists for a strike because it sees the city as a citadel of Western licentiousness." And in 2007, the Department of Homeland Security named Las Vegas area among its cities or regions that should get priority funding due to its status at a high risk for terrorist attack. So does the death of bin Laden mean Nevadans can relax the vigilance a bit? Or is the extra funding from Homeland Security more important than ever? And Congresswoman, the day bin Laden was killed, you issued a statement in which you acknowledged the, quote, "tremendous victory for America," but you were quick to add, quote, "We know the fight against terrorism continues and that our military families remain in harm's way." So let's start with this. Southern Nevada and Nevada in general, safer or more vigilance needed than ever before?
Combination of both. I don't think anybody would argue that getting rid of Osama bin Laden was a remarkable thing that this nation did. I think it sends a signal to the terrorists that we know who you are and we're going to get you, and it doesn't matter how long it takes, we're going to get you. So that was very good, and I think the treasure trove of information that we got in his compound is going to ultimately keep Americans safer and our allies across the planet. However, I don't think anybody would dispute that Al-Qaeda now is headless, cut off the head of the snake, but the snake is still wiggling around. So they're going to want to demonstrate that even though their head has been cut off, they are still a potent force when it comes to terrorism. Las Vegas has been, in the past, designated as a high-risk city. You know, we worked very hard after 9/11 to make sure that Las Vegas and the state of Nevada did, in fact, get the funding that we needed in order to keep the community safe. So I would think it's a mixed blessing, but we must continue to be ever vigilant. And let us also remember that Creech and Nellis are in the state of Nevada, and they are worth protecting as well.
That 2003 Post piece I mentioned, it also said, quote, "Government officials said they have known for some time that the Al-Qaeda is interested in striking at Las Vegas." You know, you were on the Hill then when that article came out, of course. That was some scary stuff to learn, wasn't it?
Well, it was. And, you know, you're always balancing. Our economy is based on people coming to Las Vegas and having a good time. We didn't want to scare everybody so that they would stop coming to Las Vegas. On the other hand, we had to ensure that the people that come to Las Vegas, our tourists, are going to be protected in case of a terrorist attack. Sure. And I think the city and the state of Nevada have gone a long way in ensuring that we will be able to and will be prepared to protect everybody, not only our residents, but the hundreds of thousands of people that come monthly to the state of Nevada.
And
they
speaking,
too will be
speaking
protected.
of tourists, you know, that Homeland Security funding priority decision, you know, Las Vegas is up against much larger, you know, metros vying for those dollars. But with the tourism population, I'm sure you think that its needs certainly rival those of other countries, even those with larger metro populations.
Great point, and that was exactly the point that we argued with Homeland Security. When you take just the population, we're a mid-level city population-wise. When you take the 40 million visitors a year, if you add that into the mix, we've got quite an extraordinary population and needed the funding to protect not only the residents of the state of Nevada, but our many visitors as well.
What's Southern Nevada getting? Is it adequate? Fair, in your opinion?
Actually, we've done well. For many years, we were known as a high-risk city, so we received the funds necessary to protect an urban area. However, in addition to the Nevada funding that we received and others, Las Vegas got a little bit more. Then, as a matter of fact, the latest Republican budget proposal takes funding away from all urban areas but 10 high-risk ones. We are sending, I personally sent a letter to the Appropriations Committee saying, no, 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 no. This has to be expanded. It can't only be 10. Las Vegas is usually listed around 25th. We need the additional funding, too, to help not only protect our residents, as we spoke about, but those tourists as well. And that's very important for us.
Okay, when we come back, we're going to talk about some legislation that helps out with security that you've either been in charge of or supported or rooted for in some way or another. And that's right after this.
You're watching Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. Brought to you by the Southern Nevada Water Authority, the National Mining Association, the Frias Companies, Caesars Entertainment, NV Energy, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, Western Lithium Corporation, and Skyline Restaurant and Casino.
Sunrise, the Mojave Desert. Just another day in Southern Nevada? Think again, pal. Millions of concerned citizens are throwing in to conserve water. Yes, from the welcoming hills of Boulder City to the friendly streets of Spring Valley, everyone's playing their part. Way to go, Joe. It's a desert out there. Be water smart. Go to snwa.com.
You already watch Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, Nevada's only statewide program produced in Washington, D.C. But for even more news from Capitol Hill that affects you, your family, and your business, you need to read Nevada's Washington Watch, our online newsletter. In-depth reporting on federal efforts that impact you. Our exclusive Inside the Beltway column, putting a microscope on Nevada's congressional delegation. Guest editorials about what Nevada needs from the Hill. Nevada's Washington Watch, your watch on Washington. Subscribe today at nevadaswashingtonwatch.com.
Heads we go, tails we stay. A coin flip. That's how it all began for what is now Nevada's largest transportation provider. Charlie Frias, with a can-do spirit and support of his loving wife Phyllis, bought ABC Union Cab in 1966. They then parlayed 5 cabs into a fleet of nearly 1,000. And today, Frias has over 2,000 employees and was recently voted Las Vegas's best company to work for. Frias, safe, reliable, simply the best.
America's minerals have made us a nation of self-reliant dreamers, shaping our world and the endless ways we enjoy it. But red tape often forces us to import more than half the minerals we depend on. Minerals we already have. We don't import our dreams. Shouldn't that go for our minerals, too? The National Mining Association. Learn more at nma.org.
Welcome back to Eye on Washington, our discussion of one Nevada leader's work aimed at helping keep Nevada free from harm in this post-Bin Laden world. She is my guest today, of course, Nevada U.S. Congresswoman Shelley Berkley. Since the September 11th terrorist attacks, we've told you many times here on Eye on Washington that security is a major focus of those representing you on the Hill. So let's focus now on efforts to keep you and yours safe. In 2010, former Nevada U.S. Congresswoman Dina Titus wrote, and my guest and the rest of the delegation supported, a bill aimed at helping states plan for security threats and better prioritize the allocation of Homeland Security grants. Titus, who served on the House Homeland Security Committee, says she wrote the bill mainly to make sure that certain communities, such as Las Vegas, that face certain risks, have the information and data they need to best use Homeland Security funding. Meanwhile, here are just a few of the recent Nevada securing efforts Congresswoman Berkley has supported. She says she pushed for the $16.3 million Nevada received last year for Homeland Security needs. This included the Urban Area Security Initiative, which provides funding to select high-threat, high-density urban areas, the State Homeland Security Program, which supports the implementation of state Homeland Security strategies to identify that state's unique planning, equipment, training, and exercise needs, and the Metropolitan Medical Response System, which aims to enhance regional mass casualty incident response capabilities. And these are just some of your most recent efforts, of course. What are you working on or proposing in the wake of bin Laden's death?
Let us keep in mind that we have a fusion center down in southern Nevada where 18 local, state, and federal agencies coordinate their efforts in order to keep the people of the state of Nevada safe from any possible terrorist attack. That came in the wake of the 9/11 Commission findings that emphasized the need to coordinate our efforts between state, local, and federal officials so that we know not only what we have to do, but how we should do it in case of a terrorist attack. It's very important for us to get the adequate funding. What I am working on now, in light of the fact that the budget proposal came back and did not include Las Vegas as one of its urban targeted cities, I need to ensure that the people of the state of Nevada are safe, that we have the appropriate funding in order to carry out the mission that the 9/11 Commission tasked us with, in order to keep the Fusion Center operating properly for the entire state of Nevada. So I'm working on an urban initiative to ensure that Las Vegas does, in fact, get the funding that they need in order to do the job that we have to do in order to protect our residents and our tourists.
You know, that Titus bill I mentioned, which you advocated, she said she wrote it to help FEMA understand Nevada's specific needs so that the agency could more effectively administer those programs. So it seems that even areas that are similar in risk assessment are quite dissimilar in how they might implement funding in ways that they might decide to use them.
Nevada has some unique challenges. One of them is that we have a large, I don't want to overemphasize this, we have a substantial non-English speaking population. How do you communicate with people at time of trauma and catastrophe to make sure that everybody in the population is going to be accounted for and brought to safety? So that's something that makes Las Vegas particularly, but the state of Nevada, unique. Especially in Las Vegas, we have in the state of Nevada, there's close to 30% Hispanic population. I'm not suggesting for a minute that that means that 30% of our population doesn't speak English. Quite the contrary. But there is a large enough population of non-English speaking people that need to be communicated with. In addition to that, we have a very large state. So we have a population that is very diverse, but is very scattered. And other than the two major population centers, Las Vegas and Reno, we have unique challenges for other parts of the state as well. But I think perhaps our most important challenge is something we spoke about in the earlier segment, is that we have a rather transient population, but we have a population of that people call Nevada home. But we also have hundreds of thousands of visitors every single month in the Reno area, in the Las Vegas area. They're going to need to be accounted for, and they're going to need to be kept kept safe should, God forbid, anything happen.
You know, quickly, the state Homeland Security program, you've said, as we've been discussing, it's important for each individual state to assess its own individual needs, and that's sort of where you were heading.
And
with that.
We needed funding to make sure that we could assess our needs. These are costly endeavors. What type of equipment will we need? What type of manpower will we need? How do we communicate with a diverse population and a population that doesn't call the state of Nevada home, Las Vegas or Reno home? They're here on vacation. How do we get the tools so that they can communicate with their families so that their families know they're safe?
Very quickly, you helped get that $16.3 million in the Homeland Security funds for Nevada.
And an additional $5 million for the urban initiative.
Right, thank you. Following the death of bin Laden, is that amount affected? Will there be changes coming to how it's allocated?
I'm going to be very happy if we get that. During tough budgetary times, the fact that we're getting an additional $5.7 million for our own urban initiative is pretty pretty important, and I'm very happy to get that.
Well, we got something coming up you're going to like, right, at your old stomping ground, UNLV.
Oh, yes.
The Institute for Security Studies. We're going to talk about that right after this.
Okay.
Sunrise, the Mojave Desert. Just another day in southern Nevada? Think again, pal. Millions of concerned citizens are throwing in to conserve water. Yes, from those hipsters in Henderson to those frolicking families around Lone Mountain, everyone's playing their part. Nice frolicking. It's a desert out there. Be water smart. Go to snwa.com.
Every day, thousands of people in northern Nevada don't get enough to eat. 1 out of 5 children in northern Nevada go to bed hungry every night. But you can do something about it. Catholic Community Services of Northern Nevada has been providing help and creating hope in our community for more than 65 years. By donating food, time, or money, you can make a difference in a hungry person's life. When you make your generous donation to St. Vincent's Dining Room and St. Vincent's Food Pantry, you're helping to fight the scourge of hunger in northern Nevada. In these tough economic times, now more than ever, we need to help those less fortunate. To find out how you can donate to St. Vincent's Dining Room and St. Vincent's Food Pantry, call, click, or stop by, and together we can end hunger in northern Nevada.
How will new energy technology make our lives better? Will geothermal, wind, and solar energy be a bigger part of our future? Yes. And soon it will all be in our backyard. Learn more at nvenergy.com.
You already watch Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, Nevada's only statewide program produced in Washington, D.C. But for even more news from Capitol Hill that affects you, your family, and your business, you need to read Nevada's Washington Watch, our online newsletter. In-depth reporting on federal efforts that impact you. Our exclusive Inside the Beltway column, putting a microscope on Nevada's congressional delegation. Guest editorials about what Nevada needs from the Hill. Nevada's Washington Watch, your watch on Washington. Subscribe today at nevadaswashingtonwatch.com.
Thanks to an ongoing commitment by America's mining companies, more than 2 million acres already have been reclaimed. To learn more about reclamation or other aspects of mining, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
And welcome back to Eye on Washington, our discussion of one Nevada leader's work aimed at keeping you safe in the wake of U.S.'s killing of Osama bin Laden. We've been visiting with her, of course, Nevada U.S. Congresswoman Shelley Berkley. For our first responders, law enforcement personnel, counterterrorism experts, and others involved in crisis and emergency management, being prepared for worst-case scenarios is crucial. Now, UNLV is playing a role in that preparation goal. In 2003, the university opened its Institute for Security Studies. It's a research and training-focused organization addressing security-related challenges in Nevada and nationally. The Institute's engineers, scientists, and trainers develop and offer training to first responders and others in the front lines of terrorists and other emergency events. Among its offerings, the Multi-Assault Counterterrorism Capabilities Course, which educates officers on standardized tactical response, the Medical Disaster Preparedness Training, which deals with basic and advanced disaster life support, as well as pandemic flu preparedness awareness, and early warning education focused largely on the national See Something, Say Something campaign, which focuses on behavior and not gender or ethnicity. And there are many Nevada-specific offerings, including an awareness DVD for Las Vegas taxi, limo, and shuttle bus drivers. Its aim is to push the urgency in reporting passengers who display suspicious behaviors or who leave behind suspicious items. And Congresswoman, you must be very proud this institute is in your district.
I'm very proud it's in my district, and I'm very proud that that institution of higher learning is my alma mater, UNLV.
You know, the DVD I mentioned, it's fascinating. It's lessons learned from the 2008 terrorist attack in Mumbai, India, where terrorists placed bombs in the, in the taxi cabs. And now check out some of these other offerings that the Institute offers. These are other DVDs. Nevada's 7 Signs of Terrorism, The Future of Energy Security, and other awareness DVDs for bellmen, valets, porters, and front desk and guest room attendants. We don't think of a bellman as being on the front lines, but this is real preparedness, isn't it? Actually,
this institute does remarkable things, and I'm glad that it's housed out of UNLV because it could use the resources and the expertise that we have at UNLV. But I can't help but think that it plays a remarkable role on ensuring the safety of people in the state of Nevada and, frankly, throughout the United States that look to UNLV and our Strategic Studies Institute in order to not have to reinvent the wheel. They're taking what we have and using it, changing it, and using it for themselves.
And this is their 8th year, and I'm sure it's even stepping up now with the death of bin Laden.
And, but if I could, I'm not sure I answered your question properly. The reality is this, and I used to work in the hotels, so I understand this. Your bellman is on the front line because they're handling the luggage. If something suspicious is on their cart when they're taking it to the room, or where if it's checked in for them to keep an eye on, they're the ones that will detect it first. And so it's very important for them to be educated. And if the DVD does it in an informative and an easy way, so they can identify bags and what they look for and what they should see and what would make them
ditto the importance of the valets, the porter, the front desk guy, the guest room attendant, etc.
So important, especially, and that's another thing, in the bathroom attendants. You never know if somebody has a malevolence in their heart and they're going to do something dangerous in the hotels. They could very easily go into the bathroom with a package, throw it in the garbage, leave it in the bathroom stall, and it's those attendants that are going to see it first.
I spoke with the director, Scott Smith, before this show.
Who is just wonderful.
And he said, quote, that the Institute seeks to contribute solutions that address security concerns for the nation. Who knows what is going to come out of this institute in your district?
Isn't that remarkable? The fact is we are on the front line, and we're on, this institute is cutting edge, and it's here in southern Nevada, it's here in the state of Nevada, and it's a benefit for the entire nation.
We've only got about 40 seconds. I want to give you a chance to sing the praises of the other heroes in Nevada's homeland security efforts. There's the Northern Nevada Counterterrorism Center, the Southern Nevada Counterterrorism Center, the Nevada Threat Assessment Center, the Nevada Commission on Homeland Security, etc. And, Mr. Smith said they have doubtless helped prevent terrorist acts in Nevada. Is that too strong a statement?
No, it is not too strong a statement. He is spot on. And frankly, having worked with these men and women, they do a remarkable job. We will never know. We will never know how close we've come to having something bad happen and how they have prevented it and done it remarkably, quietly, and efficiently.
And again, the Institute is Nevada and nationally focused.
Yes,
so
indeed.
Who knows what's going to come out of there. We'll be right back with our mailbag segment.
Sunrise, the Mojave Desert. Just another day in southern Nevada? Think again, pal. Millions of concerned citizens are throwing in to conserve water. Yes, from the sunny folks at Sunrise Mountain to our pals out in Red Rock. Everyone's playing their part. Saving water is fun? I'll say, it's a desert out there. Be water smart. Go to snwa.com.
All of us at Caesars Entertainment have something we want to say.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
We don't want you to gamble if you've had too much to drink.
You shouldn't gamble if you're lonely or depressed.
And if you're under 21, you're not allowed to play.
No, no, no.
No matter which of our casinos you come to, our message is always the same.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
We know you're coming to our casinos to have a good time, and we always want you to leave feeling like you did.
Built on a fleet of just 5 cabs bought in 1966 by founder Shelley Berkley, Frias Transportation is now Nevada's largest transportation provider. Today, Frias has a fleet of nearly 1,000 vehicles and more than 2,000 employees. As an industry and community leader, Frias continues to create the future of transportation technology and management and actively supports the community, continuing the legacy of quality service in the Las Vegas Valley. Simply the best. Thanks to an ongoing commitment by America's mining companies, more than 2 million acres already have been reclaimed. To learn more about reclamation or other aspects of mining, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
Sunrise. The Mojave Desert. Just another day in southern Nevada? Think again, pal. Millions of concerned citizens are throwing in to conserve water. Guests from those hipsters in Henderson to those frolicking families around Lone Mountain, everyone's playing their part. Nice frolicking. It's a desert out there. Be water smart. Go to snwa.com.
And we're back with our closing segment of today's Eye on Washington. It's our mailbag segment, and now we're going to tell you about an issue the congressional mailbag page at the Joyce Communication website gets a lot of correspondence about. We read one of your letters on the air. We invite our guests to respond to you right here. And Congresswoman, I know you're going to be surprised. Got a letter on housing.
Not surprised.
And this is from Harry K. And he says, Dear Congresswoman Berkley, it seems there is no end to the housing crisis, and Nevada is one of the hardest hit states. It seems everyone's focus has shifted to other things. What's being done to make sure this problem is solved? What do you say to Harry?
Well, Harry is quite accurate. I don't think we've bottomed out yet in the state of Nevada. As you know, we've got the highest unemployment rate, the highest mortgage foreclosure rate, and let me say the lending institutions have not always been particularly helpful. We've passed numerous pieces of legislation here in Congress, and it just hasn't trickled down to as many people as we had hoped. We are one of the hardest hit states, and then therefore we were entitled and have finally, may I emphasize, received hardest hit dollars. So it's just being set up now. The office is being set up. It started in January, and
money's on its way finally.
Thank goodness. And it's actually starting to do the job that it was supposed to. So hang in, Harry. And can I say, if he really has a problem, call my office. Maybe we could help.
All right, or go to that website. Thank you, Congresswoman.
Yes.
That does wrap up today's Eye on Washington. If you want to have your letter read, go to our website, joycecommunications.com, and while you're there, check out more federal issues that impact Nevada while you're there. And thanks for joining us today on Eye on Washington. I'm Marilee Joyce in Washington. Good day.